Hi there, nice to see you. Today we're going to be discussing a man by the name of Volodymyr Alexandrovich Zelensky. And as I'm sure you are aware, this is a man who is the President of Ukraine. Now I'm showing you this picture here from some type of work that Zelensky done in the past, but he was known as a comedian, as a bit of a TV person in Ukraine. And then one day a miracle happened and he just became the president of the whole country. Now, quite how this happened, who knows, but regardless of that, Zelensky is the man in power. So I'm going to play you a recent clip of Zelensky, where he outlines his feelings on how he feels it's going re the war in Ukraine and relationships with the other leaders of the various countries involved.
То прямо зараз ніяк не вийде, я би так сказав. Друга історія, раз вже говоримо про 4%, ми бачили цю дезінформацію, ми розуміємо, що вона йде від Росії, ми розуміємо це, і у нас є докази, що ці цифри, вони обговорюються між Америкою і Росією. Тобто, на жаль, президент Трамп з великою повагою до нього відносимося як до лідера народу, який ми дуже поважаємо, американський народ, який нас постійно підтримує. На жаль, живе в цьому дезінформаційному просторі. Я вважаю, що Сполучені Штати Америки допомогли Путіну вийти із багатолітньої ізоляції. І тому я би хотів, щоб було більше правди у команди Трампа. Бо все це впливає точно не позитивно на Україну.
President Zelensky of Ukraine there. Now, when we're analysing these types of world leaders and where they may be going next, and what I think might be going to be happening next, it needs to be borne in mind that often they are derided in the media in general, on social media, etc., and people will say things like, oh, they're not very clever or whatever. Well, this man here, Zelensky, whether he's right or wrong, and for all his potential faults, he is obviously intelligent. He is obviously a man that's able to have manipulated world events for a little while, and he also appears now to talk like a very slick veteran politician. He displays a high verbal IQ, and I think that's partly one of the reasons why he's managed to get as much money as he has from the world. Essentially what he does is he comes out and shrugs his shoulders and said, oh, well, it's not really our fault, and he has this apologetic nature, as if, oh, if only everyone would understand our problems, etc. And whilst that might be true or not, I don't know, at the end of doing all of that, he comes out with some very direct statements, namely, unfortunately, Trump lives in a disinformation bubble. As well as the USA helped Putin to come out of years of isolation. As well as, I would like Trump's team to be more truthful. He then said, as though they are the weakest country, they are the victims, when he was referring to America. That is something new. So quite rude and derogatory language there coming from a world leader on the world stage. So Trump lives in a disinformation bubble. Well, that may well be partly true. We all kind of do live in a kind of a bubble of sorts on the internet. Has the USA helped Putin to come out of years of isolation? Are Trump's team being untruthful? And are America the victims? So he throws up some quite clever language here, Zelensky, and this is why he's quite a slippery customer. He's quite a slick operator when you look at him from this perspective. As I said, he's intelligent and he's quite quick-witted, and so he appears to just be very just normal man just talking, but he does have the capacity to mix the pot up as Trump does. So a very nice ploy here, very conciliatory language, whilst at the same time making rude comments and playing games with the God Emperor. On that note, it needs to be noted that there are very few leaders in the world willing to do that. Trump, being the God Emperor of mankind, is pretty powerful at the moment, and he's using that power very successfully around the world. And certainly you'd have to have some cojones in this day and age to just take Donald Trump on, with rhetoric on the world stage. So good on him for that. But as the saying goes, don't stick your hand in the piranha tank if you don't want to get bitten. Or words to that effect, I'm sure. So looking at what's happening at the moment, that little speech from Zelensky, moving on to his words just today, and this gives you an idea of how quickly things are chuntering along here. So essentially, as Zelensky attempted to do in that little speech there, and what Trump has successfully done, he's walked up to the board and thrown all the pieces in the air. And for all the media's talk about Trump is this and Trump's that, and he's very thin-skinned, and all of the monikers that the mainstream media puts on him, he has walked up to the board and just thrown everything in the air. And everybody, all of the world leaders and the media, are struggling to deal with what he's doing. And I think by the time they get a handle on this new zeitgeist, it'll be too late, because Trump will be done with this and he'll be playing golf at his hotel, and there will be a new president of Ukraine, and the Russians will have whatever land they wanted in the first place. I think everybody knows that what I've just said there is pretty much locked in. They're going to have to come up with a deal now, because America's left the war. Europe doesn't have an army or the money. Neither does Ukraine. Russia has lost a lot of men, as has Ukraine, and they probably want to end this war up. And so then you've got Trump coming in with his negotiators. And I think it's fair to say that when you look at Zelensky the man, I think he's had a good run. I think he knows he's had a good run. It could go down as a great wartime president in his mind on some circles. And I'm not saying that he is a great wartime president. What I'm saying is you have to put yourself in the minds of these people and understand how they think. And does he want to walk away with the $1 billion, I believe somebody mentioned on the internet? Could be less, could be more, who knows with these things. Does he just want to kind of say, you know what, I'll call here, I'll go all in. What I'm going to do here, I'm going to say I'd be quite happy to walk away as long as Ukraine gets NATO membership. And if he accomplishes that, then he will have accomplished that. Now, are the Russians ever going to accept NATO membership? I think that's really the only thing left up to debate. I think everybody knows it's pretty much locked in that there's going to be a new president in Ukraine and the Russians are going to get land. But are Ukraine going to form part of NATO? Are the Russians going to stand for that? How much have the Russians got left? These are all very, very complicated questions. But Zelensky the man, I think quite soon, he's just going to drop out of the news cycle and disappear. He's going to make this his last stand, and he's going to say, because he knows there's nowhere to go. There's no money from America, there's no money from Europe, there's no money left. They've had a generation's worth of death, the young men. Finding fighters for them is going to be hard. Bringing other countries into the war. This is all escalating, and it must be a massive headache to deal with. 6 years standing in the fire, Zelensky's been there, and I think he's going to make a final play and then he's going to disappear. That would be my best guess. Disappear off into sunset with his wife. I would imagine it would be to some very, very upmarket townhouse in an exclusive part of one of Europe's capitals. I'm sure that'll be the case. And then he'll drift into obscurity with his bags of money and his wife. And if that's the case, that's what's going to happen. I just get the feeling with him, as you might hear, that this is coming to a conclusion soonish. And I think Zelensky knows that, and I think he's going to cash in his chips and get the best out of the situation that he can. Thanks again for popping over. Bye bye.